Starseeds, welcome to Starseed Energetics. In this video, I'm going to talk about a fifth dimensional approach to setting goals now that it's time for New Year's resolutions or whatever. I think it's just a good symbol to rewire your whole system and set new intentions. So before I go into it, actually, I want to share with you this image because I'm sure that everybody has like a very slightly different definition of the fifth dimension. I'm sure everyone has a different definition of the multi-dimensional functioning and the sixth dimension, seventh dimension, whatever. It doesn't really matter to me. Here's an image that I resonate with, and here is what I mean by fifth dimension and up. I personally believe that you're never in a single dimension. Like, you are always in dimensions simultaneously, but it just depends on where you focus your attention. So even now when you're watching this or when I'm saying this to you, operating on a few different dimensions, like maybe fifth, sixth, seventh, like whatever. It doesn't really matter as long as it's a general spectrum of here rather than down here. So this is the reality wherein you are working more with the tides of the universe as well as your egoic perspective. So here is the book called Telepathy from Lucius Trust Publishing. This is from Alice Bailey. It's a channeling, and this is a image that I really want to focus on for this dimensional explanation of what I really mean by fifth dimension. I just mean, here is your egoic structure. Right about here, here's the ego, and this is your mental, emotional, and physical plane. So this is like what we call the third dimensional reality. But what I mean by fifth dimension is when you're more aware of these ones right here. So any spectrum up to the divine is right here. This is the awareness on awareness, kind of primordial consciousness type energy. And you have this filter of all of this. So actually what you experience as the divine is just a filtering channel rather than the actual thing. You can tune into it, but you can't really understand it in context of what you're filtering it all through. But this whole spectrum repeats itself in like infinite octaves. So this isn't the end of it, but this is a brief picture of what you can focus on. And if you try to understand even more than this octave, that would kind of be like you're a stomach cell and you're trying to understand how the human consciousness operates. What I personally noticed is I was able to manifest pretty much everything that I wanted to, but then the core essence of it ended up not being what I was looking for. It was just the appearance of what I thought it was going to be like with that level of consciousness that I had made plans back in the day. But the funny thing is also, by the time you reach those goals, you're on a different level of consciousness and it's not necessarily the right thing. So what you need to do is find a stable ground that you manifest the perfect frequency that you're actually after, and the outside of it and what's representing that frequency is constantly changing. So you need to program it that way. So I would say when I was littler, like younger, I'm still young, but when I was even younger, maybe up till the end of university, I would set goals, and I probably went through every single goal setting mechanism out there. At one point, for a few years, especially during my university, I would plan out down to the 30 minutes, half an hour of my day. So I would literally like wake up at 7 or whatever, and then until I go to bed, I would plan each half hour, and that was very effective for what I was doing back then, which is like just focusing on school. But I pretty much had like an explosion of ESP because I had been repressing it up until that point. When I turned like 20 or something like that, it kind of exploded. I had this like first reunification with illuminative experiences and multidimensional experiences, and after that happened, I guess I shifted out of this third dimensional dense plane, and then things were just started going wrong because I would manifest certain things, but then it wouldn't be what I wanted. It was just lacking so much. And now at this point, I've learned to set goals better and intentions better so that what I want is actually that frequency package, and it ends up always changing around there. Okay, so here's my huge problem with third dimensional goal setting. Let's say that you're this person on a boat and you're navigating through these waters and you have a little steering wheel. The third dimensional way of navigating is literally you're just setting goals based on the steering wheel. But in the fifth dimensional reality, where you're more aware of your interconnectedness with your environment and everything around you and the whole universe, you have this opportunity to kind of make intentions on how the ocean is flowing. Setting your overall priorities and frequency would be to not control, but kind of surrender to the tides here and define it. And then your little egoic structure can also define where you're going. And then as a whole, you just end up wherever you want to go based on your intentions. I want to go to an island. Then you go to an island. So here are some helpful tips to set the right goals and chase after the right things. Number one, have a main priority, your ride or die priority, your number one priority. So what this actually is this number one priority, when you identify it, it's the main framework. And even if all of the other goals you set underneath this framework doesn't work out, you're still happy. So mine, for example, would be aligning with my high self to the fullest possible extent. So this is my overarching goal for 2018. And if I just continually have this intent working throughout 2018, I do not care if anything else doesn't come about because I've got this first priority thing down. So the first tip would be to be process oriented rather than outcome oriented. So this would be like, let's say with this YouTube channel that I'm making, this is like one of my biggest passions in life right now and I'm loving it. But for the end of 2018, I'm not going to have a certain goal of an outcome. I'm not going to be like, I want an X amount of subscribers. Instead, I would say, I want to produce 15 killer content videos for my audience every month. And that's my goal rather than the outcome. And this way, you ensure that you are aligned to the actual service rather than the outcome of it. And you're focusing on the journey more than the destination. This is just a better experience, I feel. So apply that to however you want. Second tip would be to have a structure and have a routine, but also have room for flexibility. So for me, this applies to certain daily routines, for example. If I say I'm going to meditate every single day, I still have that structure. But then I will leave it up to my intuition to choose which meditation that I do, which type of meditation, and also for how long I do it. So then I have a mixed balance of intuition and structure, masculine and feminine, and that's how you can have a really good outcome, in my opinion, and experience. Number three is to make goals based on frequency and emotion rather than the physical, tangible manifestation. So this would mean that if you say you want to manifest an X amount of money by the end of 2018, you have to keep asking yourself why until you get to the base frequency of what exactly you want. So it would be like material sovereignty or freedom, ultimate freedom. So that's what you actually want. So yeah, just leave it up to that and toss away the numbers. But metrics do come in handy, and let me talk about where the metrics come in handy. So let's say you want to help 10,000 people with your service by the end of the year. Then you would gauge that frequency of 10,000. What does that number 10,000 mean to you? And what certain companies like Google does is they take those metrics and they just, no questions asked, multiply it by 10. So now it would be 100,000 people. And when you feel that amount of resistance, then you've got something to work with there. Why not 100,000 people? Is there some sort of unworthiness issue or some sort of resistance that you feel to serving that amount of people? And if you could justify that, having 10,000 people allows more free time or whatever, that's fine. But you have to examine what it is that doesn't allow your imagination to stretch that much. So this is just an imagination stretching exercise rather than actually going after the metrics. And also it helps to reduce the time by 3 or 4. You would consider 100,000 people in 4 months. And why not? So you have to ask yourself, why not? And if the answer is because you think you're incapable, you have to look at that. Also, what happens when you put these restraints on yourself is you get way more creative and you find more efficient solutions to your goals rather than going with your linear brain. But metrics end there, and you don't have to dwell on the metrics. Metrics will always change, and it's never what you really think. Metrics, nope. when you have set goals based on these more fluid approaches, now you can start to tangibly make plans on how it could happen. And for me, I break it down into first 3 different categories: mental, emotional, and physical. And mental and emotional is more easy for me because my overlying goal of aligning with my highest self to the fullest possible extent pretty much is self-explanatory to the mental and emotional way of how it can manifest. It just aligns more to my highest self. But for the physical aspect, I have to elaborate a bit more on the physical aspect to kind of give my higher selves a better direction of where I want it to go. This is where my ego comes in handy, is how to crystallize things in the physical realm. And how I do that is I separate that into 3 different categories yet again. So this is something that Tim Ferriss does. Break it down into categories of do, be, and have, and list maybe 8 to 10 different things that you want to do, you want to be, and you want to have. And that's an overlying picture of how you want your physical reality to manifest, and not exactly to that specifics, but just an overall outline of how you want things to be. And the last thing that I do with the state of goal planning is to actually translate this into daily steps that I can take. So I have a pretty solid daily routine where I make a balance of structure and flexibility, and that's how I make my dreams come true. So that was my little breakdown on how to set goals based on the 5th dimensional spectrum and up. And I hope this has been somewhat helpful. I think I'm going to make a daily routines video on how I actually go about making daily routines. If you are interested, give this video a like. And if I get enough, then I'll make a daily routines video. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have the most amazing self-reflection time, as well as a planning of the year ahead, or however long ahead. Take care and love you.